Hello, welcome to this week's episode of CXNext Live. For those of you joining for the first time, welcome. This is a weekly series. We focus on the world of customer experience, how to build a better strategy, how to adapt to the dynamic environment we're all living in today, and how to better support your customers and your employees. We all are faced with new challenges around the shift to digital. In many cases, we've had explosions in new channels, challenges with existing channels like our contact centers. And really, this is something that every company is facing as what should we do next? How do we accelerate our digital transformation, empower our employees, empower our customers, and really do this in a way that still delivers a high quality customer experience, but does that in this new world we're all living in today? That doesn't look like, unfortunately, it'll be going away anytime soon. So one thing that we've really learned is work we've done with our clients and many of the insights they've delivered on how they've adapted and changed and evolved. And really excited for our conversation today, looking at how an online retailer that has a complex product portfolio really, focuses on customer experience, putting the customer at the center of everything, and also has been dealing with a dramatic increase in customer volume, shifts in channels, new ways of engaging their customers. They're really a wonderful example of how you do this successfully at scale. So joining me this week is Diamond Nurse, who is the head of brand for filtersfast.com. This is an online retailer that focuses on getting filters for water devices, air filtering, really all those things that keep the air and the water we breathe fresh and clean. They've seen a massive increase in interest and customer visits and volume to their website because of the shift to digital, and also folks really concerned about the air they're breathing and the water they're drinking during this current pandemic. So Diamond and the team have really been focused on improving self-service, creating better customer experiences, and doing that at scale. And fortunately, they started much of this work before the pandemic, so they're really are reaping the benefits of much of that hard work. So I'm excited for this week's episode to explore this topic further with Diamond and really learn about how Filters Fast is transforming the way that they engage with their customers. So without further ado, I want to introduce Diamond Nurse, and excited to talk more about what you're doing at Filters Fast. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited as well.
Yes, so I provide a little bit of a background on you beforehand, but why don't we talk a little bit about Filters Fast and your role there, and kind of what you've been doing at Filters Fast and your current position.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the senior brand manager at filtersfast.com, and we are an e-commerce company, and what we do is provide all of your air and water filtration needs. Our mission is just to really provide clean access to clean air and water to everyone in the world, right? Because we believe that that is just a human right. So we provide every filter that you can think of on our website, and we also partner. We have our charity partners from Wine to Water and Habitat for Humanity. As senior brand manager, I manage all of our internal and external employee engagements and managing our customer stakeholders and our customer experience, and just our overall look and feel on how people perceive us from the outside looking in.
That's great. Yeah, and so I'm a customer. We didn't talk about that beforehand, but it's a great you're a great organization, and I know it's also great because you can just find their inventory is so great.
Yeah.
So not to give you a plug, but I am a customer, and that's great. I didn't know you guys are working with Habitat for Humanity. It's another wonderful organization that I get involved with. So that's great to hear.
Awesome.
Obviously, your business, like everyone's business, has been transformed and impacted by what's going on with COVID-19. We're going to touch on that, and we're going to spend some time on that, and then we'll also talk about how you've kind of had this broader journey of better enabling your customers and digital transformation. So I'm interested in seeing how that broader journey now has influenced the impact of COVID-19. But before we go there, I want to kind of start out with how you started this journey and kind of who led the change, and what were some of the reasons for the change. So can you talk a little bit about if we were to rewind, let's say to last year and to an earlier date, what were some of the things you were thinking about? What were some of the challenges you were seeing that you were trying to address with looking at new technology like a chatbot?
Mm-hmm. Well, at filtersfast.com and being an e-commerce company, one thing that was always on top of mind was for us to provide options for our customer to reach out to us from every customer touch point and make that very easy for them. And being e-commerce, we're like, let's try to manage so many of the calls, but how can we provide this excellent customer experience and also let it be self-service, right? We wanted our customers to be able to come on our website, email us, whatever it may be, chat with us, and be able to get their need fulfilled and in a great way. And so that was something that was on the top of mind for us for many, many years. And as we're moving into a new way of being and a way of living, we knew that we wanted to step our game up even more because of, now everyone is truly online.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting too about your business is that there is so much complexity of kind of the inventory and parts, and it often becomes like a do it now activity of the sense of you're like, oh, I need to replace this filter, and people just want to get it done, and they're often in the process of working at it right now. They're like, oh, I'm getting an error on my HVAC unit, or my fridge has a little light up that says I need to replace that filter, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll do it this weekend, and then someone takes out the old filter, they read the part number, or they don't know the part, and they just want to get it done. So I think what's interesting too is that your use case is one of like high need from the customer, and that they have usually probably a pretty immediate problem, but it's not a frequent problem, and it's not something where they necessarily want to spend a lot of time looking through various pages or waiting on hold or waiting for an answer. It's like, hey, I want my air conditioner just to work, or I want to get a nice cold glass of water. So I think that there's this uniqueness, an interesting perspective of your business that once again drives towards this model of how do we get to the customer outcome faster.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. And even for us, one thing, when you think about filtration, it's usually not between the 8 to 5 or your general work day, right? So we really wanted to find a way, how can we provide responses or provide, again, that excellent customer experience outside of that kind of like regular working hour. So we found that Bow 360 really helped us to provide that 24/7 access for, jumping on our web for some of those needs that were just kind of like very easily to be answered via our website.
Yeah, absolutely. And even to your point, it's like simple things, questions around shipping, or questions around availability, or questions around, warranties, or, replacement timeline. Like, if I replace this now, when do I need to replace it again? There's a lot of those things that I'm sure your customer service teams were getting these same questions over and over again. And how do you, one, empower the customer so they can get the answer faster, and two, reduce that burden and overhead on your internal teams?
Exactly. Another thing even too that we found was super important for our customers, to your point, is just kind of like having that option for them to do those independent searches. And then we are able to utilize in Bow 360, we're able to kind of compile that data and understand how to update any of our processes that we may need to update, so that those questions do not continue to arise from our customers. So it's really awesome that our customers can self-navigate and do their searches and get a lot of things answered for them. But then we're also able to create content and update our process even better, so customers can navigate even more, or even we can we can dismiss or some of those questions that are asked, because it's very clear and written throughout the website, and it's an easy navigation.
Yeah, that's great. So there's two things I really like that you mentioned there is, you're enabling the customer, and you're trying to remove that customer friction. But as you also said, it's identifying new areas of customer friction and new areas for optimization. So it's not just that, you said, hey, here, we know what the problem is today, and we're going to go fix this problem, with a specific solution, but rather it's continuing to find the next hurdle for the customer, or the next place to optimize and improve, which once again makes everything better over time. And obviously new challenges will emerge. And we'll spend a couple minutes talking about COVID-19, but it's that that nothing stays the same. And what's nice is a tool like Bow 360, or a tool like you're leveraging, is that it will identify where those new gaps are, and then help you either update content, update workflows, or whatever is appropriate to eliminate that customer hurdle.
Exactly. Exactly. Another really unique thing that we love about Vote 360, beyond how you mentioned tailoring our content, we're able to really tailor the responses to the customer need. It really makes the customer feel like they're interacting and engaging with a real person, because once the bot collects so much information, they're able to really formulate the sentences and really have, answer the specific questions or needs of the customer. So we're able to really, gain that greater insight of our customer and resolve issues quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's the key, that, the name of the game for you guys is just that efficiency and, how are you driving things at a faster and better pace, both for yourself, so you can, make the best use of your people and your time, but also for your customers who, once again, just kind of want to get back to living their lives.
Right.
So that's great. So I want to talk a little bit more about kind of the impact of COVID. And obviously, to your point earlier, you made, everything's shifting to digital. There's such a push for digital experiences. And I'm sure, also a big push for now, quality of air, quality of water. There's just so much going on around us that make people over amplified on making sure they're breathing healthy, fresh air. So I'm interested in what were some of the things you saw as people transitioned to working from home, doing things like home lockdowns. How did that impact your business in the short term and up through today?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, this pandemic has really had a positive impact on our business. And we like to say that, we are a business that it's something that you need, right?
Yes.
You want to breathe that air. Good air, clean air, even if you have allergies, if you have pets or just anything, you just want clean air and clean water. So I would say this time has impacted our business in a very positive way. And so we've seen a huge uptick in the number of visitors to our sites. We're seeing more news outlets mentioning things like HEPA filters, MERV ratings, and understanding all the different things around filtration. And so we're noticing that we had, an increase in call volume, an increase in, with the increase in customers comes an increase in questions and inquiries and things of that nature, shipping, and all of that. And so thankfully, prior to this time, we already had implemented Vote 360 and having the chatbot. So we were already able to understand, kind of like have our processes in place, understand like the majority of our customer needs. So we were able to really kind of look at that dashboard and that back end and already kind of prepare for some of the questions and things that were going to arise. But then we also noticed that in this time with the increased call volume, with the increased volume to our website, that there were less escalations, right? The bot was able to handle many of the questions and issues that the customers had. And so we had less emails and less calls coming in because the customers were able to get things handled right on the spot using our bot.
That's really interesting. And I think there are a number of things you mentioned that's good for people to get their head around is, one, that previous investment really paid strong dividends during this pandemic, during this challenging time. One, to help better service your customer, and two, help all of you with managing that scale. And then also, to the earlier point we had talked about, it also helped to identify what were the next things you should be concerned about, because that was one thing we saw very frequently is, people's hours of operations were changing, their customer service teams were in flux, their shipping policies may have changed, where, in the past, they would be able to deliver, ship something within 24 hours. And sometimes it was taking 48 or even or longer, 40 hours or longer to ship, just because of the number of people in the warehouses. So I think that's a really good perspective of, getting those insights early, so then you can then better inform, educate, and, support your customer base through these changing times.
Exactly. And I think you hit it spot on with all of the changes we had to do, like decrease in our warehouse distribution center staff, but an increase of orders and customers and questions. And so, to your point, we were able to utilize Vote 360 and the content and information that we had already collected, and even still collecting during this time, and able to kind of adjust, so we don't have to be reactive, but we can be very much proactive in how we're handling the customers, how we're handling things in this time, able to kind of keep in track of just like the order details, and when there are delays, you're able to see that the bot is able to, Boat 360 is able to say, hey, it's a delay because of X, Y, and Z. We're able to kind of put some of that content in there so we can provide that transparent communication with our customers, because that's very important to us.
Yeah, that's great. One of the questions I had too is, so you talked about the surge. Did you have to increase staffing in your contact center, or how did that work? I know many companies were challenged with, the number of agents they had, how they were managing those agents. So how did that work for all of you, through this change, and what did staffing look like for your agents?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we were able to do during this time is that we didn't necessarily have to bring on new staff, but we were able to kind of utilize the team that we did have in a more efficient way, right? So where we may have someone who might have been on the phones, now they can move over to assisting, maybe where we're getting more questions from the bot or understanding those issues, kind of getting more on the technology side and necessarily like being on the call. So we definitely have seen a reduction in the call volume and email volume because of, the bot is able to handle a lot of this. And so we can utilize our staff to really handle some of like those bigger issues, and even be a little bit more innovative in how we handle other like business concerns and communications.
Yeah, that's great. There's a couple things I really like about that as well, is that you're, being a customer service agent, frontline contact center agent is tough work. A lot of times you're dealing with hard situations, or things where things don't go right. If everything's going right, then people don't call in usually. And so I think what's nice though is that you're trying to remove that redundant, mundane stuff that is not energizing work for anyone. And what you're also, it sounds like you're doing, which is great, is you're now empowering, and I'll kind of editorialize a word, but training or enabling these agents to now spend time on more interesting things like content and subject matter expertise and workflows, which are things that for them probably are great next steps in their career, where they say, hey, I've worked here for a number of years, I'm very energized and and passionate about the company, but there are only so many managers and contact centers for agents, and we're not going to have double the number of managers. So what are paths for them to still really deliver value to the company, but do it, to your point, at scale in a new and exciting way? So that's a really interesting opportunity you kind of opened up for those teams that probably didn't exist before leveraging Bold and this new technology.
Absolutely. And I will say we had to increase our our staff in our DC, our distribution center, for sure.
Yeah,
because
okay, that's great.
Increase, but we didn't have to increase in our customer experience team, and that's really amazing, because as you mentioned, it's a lot of work, it's a lot to learn. It's not that you can just jump on board and just be ready to hop in. So it's usually like a 3-4 month turnaround time around training in order for someone to just really understand the role. So having Bold 360 on board for us already, even prior to this time, really helped us tremendously in kind of keeping that head count low. We were able to solve about 80% of our 80% of our issues that came in, we were able to resolve those using the Bold 360 without any escalation. So those are just like really exciting numbers for us. The less we have to be on the phones, the better.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a great news, and those numbers are fantastic. And it shows also that you've committed to it. Because a lot of times the technology alone, while it can be good, it's the level of commitment on staying on top of it, looking at the dashboards, managing your content, that really makes that big difference. So that's wonderful. Exactly. Just want to take a quick moment here and do a quick station ID. So for those that may have joined partway through our episode, this is CXNext Live. It's a weekly series we do focused on the world of customer experience. Joining me this week is Diamond Nurse from Filters Fast. Diamond heads up the brand team at Filters Fast. And we've been talking about their work around self-service, chatbots, some of the spike they've seen recently related to COVID-19, with folks really caring about high quality fresh air and well-filtered air and well-filtered water. So they've seen a big spike, and they really felt like their investment in self-service and solution Bold 360 really helped to put them in a strong position to deal with this pandemic and still deliver a really high quality customer experience, but doing that, with the existing investment they have of folks, of headcount and teams. Diamond, one other thing I want to touch base on is I think a lot of people, when they think about a chatbot, it feels complex. It feels like a lot of work. It feels like, a 12-month journey. How much of the chatbot was kind of a new interface for existing tools or systems? So, we're going to make it easier to access a workflow versus kind of creating everything net new. How much are you able to leverage, let's say, stuff that already lived on your website, or filter finder tools that already existed?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So initially, our IT department handled just kind of like the onboarding of the both 360 platform, which wasn't a daunting task. Didn't take too many hours from our IT team. Then our web developer came in and handled a lot of the customizations that we have. But we were able to just really plug in a lot of the information we have already on our site, which really gave us a peace of mind in knowing that it wouldn't take a lot of time to onboard this new platform to help with our customers. We knew that we found a solution to a lot of our needs around customer experience and utilization of our self-service tools, and that it wouldn't, to your point, it wouldn't take us a year to onboard in order to kind of get the satisfaction and these new ways of communicating up to our customers. We were also able to incorporate our filter finder tool, which is a really awesome tool that kind of flows into our home filter club, and that is where the customer can go in and ask, put in their detailed information about how many filters they might need, the size of their filters, if they have any pets, if they live in a rural area, they can put in their zip codes, and that can give information about their air and their water quality. And then we're able to direct them to the best product for them. Generally, we try to give like a good, better, best. Sometimes it's a better and the best option, but we're able to utilize that information already living on our site and put it into the system so that customers can easily navigate using the Bo 360 chatbot to get all of their questions answered.
That's great. And I thought what's nice there too, and I think it was helpful, I'm glad you brought it up about the other folks that were involved, is that you had your IT team involved, and you had your web team involved, because you want to leverage one best practice from the IT org and make sure it's secure and it'll work well in your infrastructure, and then the web team to once again get it to work on your website and have it leverage existing investment. But it sounds like this wasn't like a 20-person team. You didn't have like data scientists, so it sounds like this wasn't something that was like really daunting from an implementation perspective.
Yeah. So we're very small. We are a small family-owned business, and we have about 50 employees total, and that's including our distribution center.
Wow.
So we didn't have any data scientists or anything like that, even though our IT and web developers are geniuses.
Yes, that's great.
Sometimes
no discredit. Exactly.
Sometimes the team are as small as one person or up to 3 people. So it definitely, and so you can imagine that they're handling everything for the entire organization. And this was not something that was a burden for them to complete. Definitely, I can't speak and say it was very easy, but because I wasn't involved in that part, but I believe that it was a very seamless transition, and they were able to just really handle everything from A to Z without any problems.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that also just shows people that, even if you're a smaller organization, if you're focused on the customer, you're focused on making it easier for them, you build a discipline around continuous improvement and letting data help drive decisions. You can make change with a small team and really impact impact your customers in a really great way, and also impact your employees in a really great way. So I think that's, good inspiration for folks that are out there thinking about this, or, trying to figure out what they should do next. So I think that's great. The two other things I just want to quickly spend some time on was how did your teams respond? So obviously your agents themselves, I know you talked about opportunities for them to spend more time on content, but sometimes when you invest in things like a chatbot or AI, people can see it as scary, or this thing's going to take my job. So how did your internal teams respond to the project, and now that's been implemented, what's their current sentiment?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things for us, even prior to COVID, we had a goal of self-service. And this was something that we always made clear just as a larger goal amongst the organization. So we knew after learning more that the addition of the chat was going to make things like much more interactive and very personal.
Yes.
So we knew we wanted to, move to this goal of having self-service, but we didn't want to sacrifice quality. So that was a huge thing at the top of mind for us. At filterspass.com, which is my main job, is to really ensure that our employees also feel connected with the brand. So we make sure and we ensure that our customer experience is quality, 5-star rating experience to our customers, and we do everything we can to get to that. And so we also ensure that our employees feel that same way, because if our employees didn't feel good about where they're working, then they would not be able to also pass that over to the customer.
Yes.
So I want to say, even in the beginning, we were very transparent about our goals and where we were moving to as a company. And we were just very transparent, saying the plan is not to take away the headcount or have anyone lose jobs, but this is the opportunity for you to be even more innovative and focus in on some of the bigger issues and things and to resolve as a company. And if we can have this self-service and have an opportunity to automate things without sacrificing quality, then that's a win-win situation.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it goes back to that, it's about enabling them and empowering them, but also really about how are you showing them that like this type of work, we're gonna invest, we're gonna spend time to build out these capabilities, but it's gonna free you up from the stuff you really don't want to probably be spending time on anyways, and then allow you to spend time on what matters to the customer. And the stuff that we always have those lists of, oh, one day we'll get to this, and we just never have the time. So the nice thing about this is that you're putting it through the lens of making it very customer centric, but also showing them it's a win for them as well. It's allowing them to advance their skills or focus on something new and exciting.
Exactly. And even to your point, we also use the tool for our internal agents,
Yeah,
right?
that would be my next question. Yeah, are you using it internally as well? Yeah, we like to say drink our own champagne. Yeah,
Right.
so rather than eating our dog food. But yes, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I like that, drink your own champagne. I'm gonna have to use that one.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so you're using it internally as well?
Yeah, so we're able to use the tool internally for our trainings. Our agents are able to utilize the tool for any kind of like points of references that they may need to answer those questions. So even they can utilize that filter finder tool through the chatbot and able to kind of like go through that customer journey and flow with them, even on hand. So to your point, it is external and customer facing, but there's been so many things that has helped to ease the job of the customer experience team, right? Where they can use it on the web or they can use the app. They're able to set up different rules and kind of connect the different support articles. It's opportunity for easy reporting from them. So, during our monthly meetings, the team is able to kind of report on different questions or what comes in from the customers, any consistencies that they're seeing about. So then if there are any updates we need to make from internal team's perspective, we can do that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I know companies approach this in different ways. Did you implement it first with your employees and then with customers, or vice versa? Did you do it with customers first and then with your employees, or was that at the same time?
It was almost one and the same,
Okay.
but after we started getting some more learning around introducing it to the customers, then we realized like, oh, this is even, we can use this for more trainings and, other opportunities internally.
That's great, because we've seen companies do both things. Some people get nervous about putting new technology in front of their customers, so they try it with their own employees first. Others, to your point, really see a lot of value with the customer, and they're like, oh, the employees are like, wow, this would be valuable for me too. I'm going to leverage the same tool. So I think that's great. Once again, it's about consistency, availability, and then you gain new insights by employees using it because you're seeing what they're asking. And you may say, hey, we thought people were well trained on this topic, but a lot of people keep asking the same question, so it can be an opportunity to improve how we train our employees also.
Yeah, and that's absolutely correct. And even one thing that we even started to do this year is that we actually just promoted someone over to lead our email marketing from customer experience. And so she comes with a wealth of knowledge of utilizing Bold 360, building it from the ground up for our internal use. And we're utilizing kind of some of that customer insights and that content that's built up on the back end. We're able to use that for blog ideas, email marketing, social media, so that we can help the customer from every touch point that we have. So that's really exciting that we're coming up with that new content. And we know that it's content the customers want to see or hear because they've asked these questions.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, customer-led content or customer-led innovation is like what we all dream for, and it can be hard. And I think what's nice too, one thing I think you guys should certainly celebrate, it sounds like you do, but is just your culture around employee empowerment and bringing people who really understand the customer well and have a passion for the customer, and promoting them and giving them new challenges and new opportunities. Unfortunately, so much of customer experience in the contact center is seen as a cost center, and it's like just drive down cost, hit your SLAs, and put your head down and get your work done. And it sounds like you guys really take a much more customer centric and employee centric approach, which probably leads to your 5 stars and great results. So certainly great to hear that, and you guys should celebrate it.
Oh yes, most definitely. You hit it spot on that the customer is at the center of all that we do, and we also make sure our internal employees feel that same way.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I think it's great to hear that the work you did, prior to all these challenges around the pandemic, really have helped you through this challenging time. It's also wonderful to hear a good news story of your business doing really well, and you guys continuing to invest in your employees and be able to support your customers through this hard time. So that's really wonderful to hear. And I want to thank you so much for the perspective. I think there's really great insights anybody could take out of this on whether they're just starting out and what's the value and building an ROI, all the way through if they're currently struggling and maybe they've tried self-service but they're looking to do it better. I think there's a number of great insights you've provided, so thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. We really feel like we've grown as a company after implementing Bold 360 into our day-to-day. And we're just excited to see even more and constantly learn on what more that we can do to grow as a business.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think also the interesting thing too is, your role focused on brand and focused on the customer, I think is also an interesting role in the sense of, you're not a traditional, only in the contact center or only in, let's say, a marketing organization, or, I think like your role is also really interesting. So I think that also brings a unique perspective. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Well, it's great chatting with you, Diamond. And we'll certainly keep in touch and looking forward to hear where things go from here. But I want to thank you so much for joining CXNext Live this week.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Good to talk with you.
Yeah, great chatting with you too. And for all of you out there, thank you so much for joining this week's episode. Please feel free to put in comments, ask additional questions. We can forward those on to Diamond, or I can answer them myself. Thank you for joining each week for CXNext Live. We're looking forward to future conversations around how you can improve your customer experience through self-service, conversational chatbots, or better employee empowerment. We're wishing you all the best. Please stay healthy and well, and looking forward for the next time we can talk. Thanks so much, and take care.